good night. Good evening, everyone. I hope you've had a good day, or night, apparently. um, that's not quite how I expected this to start. Um, I hope you've all been doing okay. Um, so, a little housekeeping at the front end, and then I'll basically reiterate it at the end. So this is going to be my last stream for a couple of weeks. So, life has just gotten a bit crazy. There's some things that have time limits and time crunch on them. I will come back. I am still going to do Sequel Summer. But the next March one and the first week of April, I think, are the next two streaming days I would normally have. And I'm not going to be doing those this time around. Just so it's not one extra thing on my plate. I don't want to just stream and be burnt out and be unhappy with a thing that I really enjoy doing. I enjoy talking about books. I enjoy being here and sharing that, even even when the books I pick are sometimes very strange. I will try to put up a community post. I'll probably put one up tonight, if not tomorrow, and then I'll try to put one up on the nights I would normally be streaming. I'll try to put a post up to remind you, hey, I'm not streaming tonight. Here's the day I'm expected to return. Which, if I was smart, I would have pulled that date up too, but I was not. So today is a bit of an interesting one, in that it is the first book in the series, but it's not the first book in its world. So it's not quite a sequel. Timeline-wise, it's a sequel series, but without reading the whole series. Oh, I guess if you read the whole series, it truly is a sequel series. But the first book is not. So if you haven't read the first series, you won't miss much in this. It does a really good job of covering all its bases. So without further ado, let's jump into this. Let's get talking about books. And we are doing Imposters today. Oh no. Also, huge apologies if I either mute a lot or sneeze a lot. I've been sneezing all day. I don't know why. Oh no. Speaking of. Ow. Oh. Okay. Sorry about that, everybody. This is meant to entertain and inform. I do not hold any of the rights, and I hope you enjoy. Let me get my mouse over where it needs to be. Don't mind me. So we are talking about Imposters by Scott Westerfeld. Weird quirk of me. I know how to spell this author's name. I've known this name since I was in high school. I always have to correct my own spelling because I always want to put an I in his last name. But no, it is Westerfeld. So, publishing details. It was published originally by Scholastic Press in 2018. It is a part of a series. It is part of the Imposters series. I will say this here. I will say it again later. It takes place in the Uglies universe. So if you've read Uglies, Pretties, Specials, or Extras, hopefully in the correct order, but not necessarily. I've read books out of order before. This takes place in that world and technically takes place after that. So on the broader scale, it's part of the Uglies series, but this particular series following these characters is the Imposters series. It's not following the same characters. The original cover, see, I'm not gonna lie. I looked this up. I I still don't remember how to pronounce this correctly. Oh gosh. So this is the original cover. There are two other covers that are, one of them is, looks like it's glitching in front of a face, and I don't remember what the other one was. Hang on, I will look up this illustrator's name again so I can at least attempt to pronounce it correctly. What is... Oh, don't give me an audio pronunciation. Just... Oh no. Hang on, guys. Come on. I'm not... I can't do this. I am going to butcher this name no matter how I say it, and I am terrified. Okay, hang on, guys. I'm going to mute. I'm gonna have to mute in multiple places. How do I mute this? Hang on. Okay. Hang on a sec, guys. I will be right back when I at least have an attempt at this pronunciation, because I tried it earlier. Okay, we're going to attempt this, and I am very sorry to anybody who speaks Turkish and knows how this should be pronounced, because I'm going to butcher it. The illustrator is Aykut Adogdu. He's a illustrator who does primarily surrealist art. He does a lot of things with the human face, similar to this one where you've got the lens reflecting. He'll do the, like, he does a lot of surrealism with the human face. If you can imagine it, he's probably done it. It's all gorgeous, much like this is. And like I said, there are two other illustrators as well. I think all my sound is back. Otherwise, I'm doing this stream in silence, and I am very sorry for that. Oh dear. Okay. Everything's fine. So the author is Scott Westerfeld. He's written he's written 25 novels. 20 of them are YA. So I will say all of this specifically came off of his website, because I have the same problem with Scott Westerfeld that I have with Neil Gaiman, which is I can find so much information about them because they are prolific and well-loved. So I'm like, in order to save myself from falling down that rabbit hole for like 4 to 5 hours, I just went to his website and I'm like, what do you say about you? Many of his novels, so I've read Uglies, that whole series, and I've read Imposters, this first book. I haven't read the rest of the series yet. I want to say I've looked at Peeps, which I think is his vampire one. I haven't read the Leviathan series, or what's the one I have read? Midnighters? I think it's Midnighters because time stands still for like an hour, something like that. Anyway, it's really good. Most of them have the same feel when reading, which is they read fast. He has worked as a substitute teacher, he's worked at a factory, as a factory worker, and he worked as a software designer prior to becoming a full-time author. And I found it really funny, so I had to include it. He said that, I can't remember if he said it was his crowning glory, but one of his things is he wrote 3 Powerpuff Girl Choose Your Own Adventure books, which, if you don't know what Choose Your Own Adventure books are, let me tell you, they were a trip. Like, the generic ones were just wild. Basically, at the bottom of every page, or every other page, it would say, if you do X, go to page Y, or if you do X, go to page 7, if you do Y, go to page 20, and you would go there and you would read the rest of your story. It was a book that was not made to be read in numerical order. You were meant to go to the pages that it tells you. The normal ones, I can't speak for the Powerpuff Girl ones. Welcome to Lady Chryseis Goes Off on Tangents. The normal ones typically had like some really grim endings. Like, whether they were sci-fi or fantasy, the endings were just kind of awful sometimes. Like, you could get a good ending, but 9 times out of 10 it was some like gruesome or dystopian horror ending. It was never anything like nice and peaceful, like a mimic colony eating you. No. So what do you need to know about Imposters? It's part of the Uglies universe. It is a story of separated twins. It is set in a dystopia. Yes, this is me double dipping because Uglies as a whole is a dystopia. And then your main character is an assassin, among other things. Oh, excuse me. So Frey is your main character. She's 26 minutes younger than Rafi. Wait, minutes? Seconds. Oh gosh. Hang on. It's 26, I can tell you that, because it's mentioned a lot. Hang on. Do. It is... See, this is what happens when I second guess things, is I have to go make sure I am correct, or it will drive me bonkers. Nope, not that. Okay, come on. Let's see. This is sorry guys, this is not what I meant to be doing, but I wrote this and now I am second guessing literally everything and it's driving me bonkers, and of course it's not like written on the back where I would expect it to be. Like, I feel like it's brought up so many times and right now I just can't. Da-da-da-da. Let's see. Nope. Okay. I'm gonna stop looking because this is just gonna, like, go down a rabbit hole of me not being able to figure out. We're gonna see if my Google Foo works. Alright, new plan, Google Foo. I'm sorry, guys. This was not supposed to be me just looking stuff up. Blah, blah, blah. It is 26 minutes. Good grief. Okay, so yes, I was right the first time. I'm just second guessing myself. I am so sorry, everyone. That was probably very, very boring. But so she's the body double of her sister and the main character. She was trained to fight and defend her sister since she was 7, and part of that is killing. Like, it's not completely, but she's got the knowledge because she's supposed to prevent anyone from hurting her sister. She is the bodyguard and body double. So the Ugly universe. So this takes place after Extras and after the Mind Drain and Taliwa. What you really need to know is that once upon a time, everybody became pretty. A revolt happened, that stopped, and the Mind Drain was a reversal of some of the things that happened, and Tally was called Taliwa. Tally Youngblood, but Taliwa. It does have its own language that isn't super hard to figure out. It's not Mean Girls and Fetch level, but it is at the same time. So you have things like pretty making and bubblehead and Taliwa and law, stuff like that. Head empty, why are you being so head empty, stuff like that. It makes a lot of sense in context and you can figure it out, even if, like, the thought of having a conversation with it can be semi-cringe. I will admit that for me, it is hard to think of the universe without thinking of, oh, Taliwa. Oh, hang on. So, excuse me. Another thing to be aware of is that old people are called crumblies. And when they talk about people being pretty involved surgery and several other steps. So if you're a natural pretty, there's no surgery, but most of the time when they say, oh, you're pretty, it's not a, oh, you look good, it's, oh, you're dumb and an airhead and all the things that were associated with pretties. So cosmetic surgery is a norm. It is a tale of separated twins. So there are a couple of chapters at the beginning, and more often than not, there are flashbacks. But most of the book is the first extended separation. That's a bad sentence. But it's the first extended separation either twin has had from the other. It's also a mental separation because, Rafi, trying to mix their names. Rafi was always the seen twin, and Frey was always the one in the shadows. For much of this book, it's the opposite is true. Frey is the one walking around, and Rafi is the one in hiding. And it's kind of, how does that duality exist? And maybe there are just as many hang-ups to being the seen person as there are to being the unseen. Frey does have a couple of hiccups where she's like, I'm just supposed to be the duplicate, the imposter, the stand-in. I'm not supposed to have my own standout moment type thing. It is a dystopia. So, spoiler for all of the Uglies books and the Imposters. All of this takes place in a future where it is post Rusties, which is what they call the people who ruined the planet, with mining, and they caused problems with the ecosystem, and they had terrible wars that ravaged the land and the population, and did terrible, horrible things. And spoiler alert, this is just basically us. This is basically modern day humanity, and the seemingly natural endpoint. As semi-awful as that sounds, it's also totally believable. So while in both Uglies and in Imposters there are hoverboards, if they don't have fans, they have to use metal, and they point out mostly in Uglies, but a little bit in this one. It's like, there's, Rusty's had metal underground, which is why sometimes you can, take your hoverboard so far out, even if it doesn't have lifting fans that can kick in once the metal is gone. So there's a lot of things that work off of magnetism. There's a lot of talking about Rusties and pre-Rusties. Either mining or intelligence or weapons. I will say part of this book is looking at humanity as a whole and the awful and typical cyclical patterns that happen with humanity where it just starts repeating itself because it seemed like a good idea. Why would we stop it when I can have the power? It is a story about power. And finally, part of it is a story of an assassin, because part of Frey's training is being ready and willing to kill, and being a weapon that doesn't look like one until it's too late. So Frey is a reluctant assassin in that her goal is not to kill people, but also if it's to save her sister, that's just kind of most of the line. If saving her sister means killing somebody, that's what she's going to do. If she can do it without, she would prefer to do it without. It's also a fair amount of when this is all you're trained to do, and then you're, set off the leash, how do you figure out who you are? There's also a love interest in the book. He's fine. He's a fairly good character on his own. He stands pretty well. He feels like an actual human. he isn't a massive Deus Ex Machina, although he kind of is at certain points. You also encounter specials. Excuse me. In the course of the book, so there are talks about that and the fact that they were the deadly assassins of the pretty era, and they were the end of the line for pretties. Most pretties would become crumblies eventually and just like retire out and be old, but some pretties became specials, and they were the ones who basically hunted down rebels and stuff like that. So, I can talk today. Clearly this is a day of much good talking and not just desperately trying to look things up. So recommendations regarding twins and siblings separated. Kith and Kin by Mariki Nyenkamp? Nijkamp? That's what it is. Is one I've talked about before. It is the Critical Role one about Vax'ildan and Vex'ahlia, who are fraternal twins, who, again, this is the book deals with a extended separation for the two of them, or extended for them. Next is Elena by Tamora Pierce. It is the first book in the Song of the Lioness Quartet. The twins are like a driving force and also not, because Elena is one of the twins, but her twin is only sort of important at the beginning, and then he shows up later in the series. But there is a separation where one goes to become a knight and the other goes to basically become a wizard. Shatterglass, which is book 4 of a sequel quartet. Follows Tristanna Chandler and her teacher as they are traveling around the world, and they come to stop in a certain city, and problems happen and they get hung up. But it is her found family is a better family than her family by blood, and this is the first extended separation from that found family. So much so that they send the dog with her because they knew she would be lonely. And then High Wizardry, which is book 3 of a series of the Young Wizard series by Diane Duane, follows the youngest... That doesn't make sense, there's only 2. But anyway, follows the younger sister of one of the main characters from the first 2 books. It follows Darrianne instead of Nita, and Darrianne goes to space while Nita's still on Earth. Let me just put it that way. When we talk about separation, that is the largest separation in terms of physically separated. And then recommendations for dystopias. So, I will be honest, I have read all of these, I have enjoyed all of these. Dystopias are not my favorite genre. When I like them despite them being dystopias, not because they're dystopias. So, to begin with, Shipbreaker, which I've talked about before, by Paolo Bacialupi? Is about a scavenger who deals with ships, and one of his friends goes missing, and so it's the journey to go find her. The City of Ember is a post-apocalyptic dystopia where everybody has gone underground because, surprise, surprise, humanity has ruined the planet. And it runs off of electricity, and light bulbs are going out, and the dark is encroaching. Cinder by Marissa Meyer is a futuristic sci-fi post-apocalyptic it's less dystopia, more post-apocalyptic retelling of Cinderella, with cyborgs and androids and humans and pandemics and all that kind of nonsense, all rolled up into one. I've talked about it before, so yeah, it's a really fun read. It's well crafted, but not surprising. And then Eager by Helen Fox. So this and City of Ember are both children's stories as opposed to Shipbreaker and Cinder, which are young adult. Eager is basically baby's first iRobot. It is a very soft, very kid-friendly examination of how much humanity is required for someone to be human. So Eager is a robot that a family buys. I want to say they buy him as a companion and not as a servant, but they buy him to interact with their kids. And it's told primarily from Eager's perspective, and Eager notices that some of the other robots start acting weird. And so it becomes a question of this robot that can learn, Eager. It's like how much of that is strictly programming and how much of it is like natural curiosity, and does that make him more human? And like, is that his fault that he's human? Is it the people who programmed him? Is it the weird, like, dark... There are some, like, dark underpinnings, but they're really apparent once you actually read it. Without spoiling it, you get about 3 chapters in and you're like, I understand. I know where this is going and what it's trying to allude to. So those are my recommendations for that. I do want to mention something else. Hello? Why is my stuff not working? Okay. I do want to mention something else because I find it highly, highly interesting and amusing. So I have learned in the past few weeks that apparently people don't like long chapters. You don't have that problem with this book. This book has a gazillion chapters, it feels like. Most of them are 2 or 3 pages, maybe 5. They all have titles. Some of the titles are repeating, which is not confusing at all and give you deja vu. But that is not a problem with this book. I don't really understand why that's a problem. Like, what does it matter if the story is moving forward? That being said, I do prefer things to have at least chapters and not just be a whole novel with no chapters. Something to give me a break, even if it's just a number at the top of a page. So Westerfeld, see, I told you, I put an I in his name. It's not there. His worlds are really well crafted, but they're also very accessible. It's not a Wheel of Time or Tolkien or any of that stuff where the world is kind of a slog to understand. Like, it's a good world, but oh boy. This is very much, hey, this world is like this. It's a little quirky. Here are some, like, new things you're finding out as you go along. It's kind of like, how do I explain this? It's kind of like looking at a blurry picture. Let's use this analogy. This will work pretty easily. with people like Robert Jordan or Tolkien, you get like one pixel at a time revealed, so it takes a long time for it to come together in a whole cohesive thing and like move itself along. Um, with Westerfeld, it starts as a blurry picture and slowly gets clearer, but you have the whole picture basically from the get-go. But it's a little fuzzy and you don't have the details, and then the details bring clarity to the whole. It's not reinventing the wheel. I will say he is one of those he's one of those like tech savvy authors. So like he has a YouTube channel and he has book trailers for some of his books. I don't know if he's as responsive as Gaiman is, but he is like I said, he has two different about me pages on his website. One is a generic about me, and the other is a FAQ. And it was basically like, I kept getting questions for book reports, so here's a bunch of answers. So that's really fun and delightful. But yeah, that is Imposters. And then, like I said, the next one, hang on. Let me see if I can pull up a calendar easily. Not Minecraft, I want a calendar. Like, I'll play Minecraft, but not now. Now I'm talking! Let's see. Just, where's, there they are. Alright, so the 20th and the 3rd, which would be the next two regularly scheduled programming, will not, unfortunately. I'm sorry. Like I said, I have a lot going on, and rather than like skimming a book or not actually reading a book or just like being frustrated with myself and being more stressed out, I think I'm going to say, hey, these next two normal streams, I'm going to have to bow out, and instead we will start mid-April, which is roughly around anniversary of the first stream, if I remember correctly. When was my first stream? What's the easiest way for me to check this? Easiest way for me to check this. Hang on. Easiest way for me to check this is somewhere. Hang on. History? Here. Let's see. Oh. No, the week I'm skipping is basically my anniversary. Oh no. So we'll be close to week 2. How about that? Technically the 5th will be a year of streaming. But we will do the next stream instead. Speaking of, so I have a couple of things that I'm not gonna do immediately upon coming back, but I have some ideas for things I would like to do. So I may be doing some of those. They'll still be book related, but they may be a little different than the book recommendations I've been doing. Mostly because it will be either it will be a longer stream on a different day when I just have more time, or it will be several streams probably spread out throughout a few months that are all related. I haven't figured out which way would work best. But that is the plan. Is so the next 2 streams I will not be here. I will put posts up and let you know I am not here, and then I will come back in time for sequel summer. We will do sequels. It gives me an excuse to buy the next book in the Imposters series. Because I don't already have enough sequels. So yeah, that is basically it for tonight. It was a bit shorter, even though it felt really long with me looking things up. I think that's about it. I will say this. So, I try not to bash on any book here, and I know talking about uglies and pretties and specials, and that era of dystopias. I'm expecting. I would not be shocked if mentions of the big ones that came out later, but they felt the same. So Hunger Games, Divergent, Variant, all of those. Maze Runner. Look, I've read the Hunger Games. I didn't enjoy it. I knew the others were more of the same. I don't enjoy dystopias. If you're gonna give me a dystopia, make it interesting somehow. The concept of pretties was interesting. This one with the imposter and the body double, that's interesting. But I don't like misery for misery's sake. Some people do. That's fine. They are allowed to. But that person doesn't have to be me. I won't say I will never cover those particular novels, because I might, but they are not high on my list because I quite honestly don't enjoy them. I'll be going to Half Price Books for the first time in years to actually sell books as opposed to buy them. Because I have some that I haven't read in years and I hated them when I read them, but I'm like, oh no, I can't get rid of them. I need to cut that cord, get rid of those books. So I will see you in mid-April. I'll see if I can at least get some doodles out for y'all. Maybe I'll put that in the community page. But I will see you then. Everybody stay safe and read more books. You have almost a year's worth of recommendations, either from the actual streams or from inside of them with the recommendations pages. So give some of them a try. I will see y'all then.